Welcome to a deep dive into the most pivotal year for the global automotive industry. By 1943, the roar of civilian assembly lines had been replaced by the rhythmic clank of war production. Across the United States, the manufacturing of passenger cars for private use had come to a complete standstill following government mandates. This vacuum gave rise to two legends that would define the era: the Willys MB and the Ford GPW. These weren't just vehicles, they were the backbone of Allied mobility. For enthusiasts today, 1943 represents the peak of standardized production, where the Jeep became a household name. We are looking at a time when utility trumped luxury in every bolt and weld. Today, we explore how these machines were born from necessity, their technical prowess, and why they remain the ultimate prize for classic car collectors and restorers looking for a piece of authentic history. To understand why the 1943 Willys MB was so dominant, we have to look under the hood. The heart of this beast was the Willys L134 engine, affectionately known as the Go Devil. This 134.2 cubic inch inline-4 engine was a marvel of its time, producing 60 horsepower and 105 pound-feet of torque. In 1943, these specs were game-changing for a vehicle of its size. For modern owners and restorers, maintaining the Go Devil engine is a labor of love. It features a side valve design that is remarkably straightforward, yet requires precise timing and attention to the oiling system to remain reliable. The 1943 models featured the standardized grid grille, moving away from the earlier slot versions, marking a transition into high-volume efficiency. This slide breaks down the core stats that made the MB a reliable partner on the front lines and a favorite for performance enthusiasts today. While Willys developed the design, Ford was brought in to meet the massive demand, resulting in the Ford GPW. The GPW stands for G for government, P to designate the 80-inch wheelbase, and W for the Willys engine design. One of the most fascinating aspects for collectors is Ford's obsession with branding. In 1943, almost every bolt, bracket, and component on a GPW was stamped with a small letter F. This was done so Henry Ford could prove his parts were of superior quality if a failure occurred in the field. To a prospective buyer today, these F marks are the gold standard for authenticity. Mechanically, the GPW was virtually identical to the MB to ensure parts were interchangeable in combat zones. This interchangeability was a logistical masterstroke that kept thousands of vehicles running when repair shops were nothing more than a muddy ditch. The 1943 Jeep wasn't just a car, it was a go-anywhere tool. Its performance in the mud, sand, and snow was legendary, largely thanks to the Spicer Model 18 transfer case and the Dana 25 front axle. This system allowed drivers to shift between two-wheel drive for road use and four-wheel drive for the toughest conditions. With a top speed of about 65 miles per hour, it wasn't built for racing, but its low-range gearing meant it could climb 60-degree grades with ease. For enthusiasts interested in off-road maintenance, the 1943 models represent the purest form of 4x4 engineering. There are no electronic sensors or computer modules, just gears, shafts, and mechanical leverage. This simplicity is why so many of these vehicles are still running 80 years later. Understanding the manual locking hubs and the leaf spring suspension is key to keeping these classics on the trail today. To truly appreciate the 1943 models, you have to understand why they were the only game in town. In February 1942, the War Production Board issued Order L2G, which officially halted all civilian automobile production. Manufacturers like Chevrolet, Dodge, and Chrysler shifted entirely to tanks, planes, and trucks. By 1943, the only new cars being seen were military spec. This led to a fascinating period where automotive innovation was purely functional. Features we take for granted today, like durable high-tensile steel and standardized fasteners, were refined during this era. For collectors, this means that any 1943 vehicle found in a civilian configuration is usually a post-war conversion or a rare survivor of the pre-ban stock. The scarcity of civilian vehicles during this year drove the Jeep to become the primary mode of transportation for any non-combat military personnel, further cementing its status as an all-purpose workhorse.
Maintenance is a top priority for any classic car owner, and the 1943 MB/GPW was designed with the soldier mechanic in mind. These vehicles had to be repairable in the middle of a forest or a desert with nothing but a basic toolkit. The engine layout is spacious, allowing easy access to the spark plugs, carburetor, and distributor. One of the most unique features was the inclusion of a tire pump located under the rear seat and a complete toolkit stored in the glove box. For modern owners, this repair-friendly nature is a huge selling point. Parts are still widely available due to the massive production numbers. Over 640,000 units were produced by the end of the war. Whether you're dealing with the 6-volt electrical system or the manual steering box, the 1943 Jeep offers a masterclass in accessible automotive engineering that newer, more complex vehicles simply cannot match.
The 1943 models introduced several iconic visual and functional elements that enthusiasts look for today. Most notably are the blackout lamps. These small hooded lamps allow drivers to navigate at night without being spotted by enemy aircraft. Then there's the jerry can, the 5-gallon fuel container mounted on the rear. In 1943, these were essential for extending the Jeep's range in remote areas. Another key feature is the Pioneer Toolkit, consisting of an axe and a shovel mounted on the driver's side. For a restorer, finding a 1943 frame with the original tool indentations is like finding buried treasure. These features weren't for show, they were life-saving innovations. When you're looking at a 1943 model today, these accessories tell the story of where the vehicle has been and the specific role it played in the most significant conflict of the 20th century. What was it actually like to drive a 1943 Jeep in its prime? It was bouncy, loud, and incredibly capable. The leaf spring suspension provided about 8 inches of ground clearance, which was vital for traversing cratered roads. With a wheelbase of only 80 inches and a width of 62 inches, its footprint was tiny, allowing it to squeeze through narrow European alleys and thick Pacific jungles alike. It could tow up to 1,000 pounds, making it an effective prime mover for small artillery pieces like the 37mm anti-tank gun. For today's performance-minded buyer, it's important to remember that these vehicles were built for a short service life, but ended up lasting decades. The steering is heavy, and the brakes are drums on all 4 wheels, requiring a firm foot. Driving a 1943 Jeep is a physical experience that connects you directly to the road and the history of the machine.
As 1943 turned to 1944, and eventually 1945, the success of the MB and GPW led Willys Overland to look toward the future. They knew that when the war ended, soldiers would return home wanting the same rugged reliability for their farms and businesses. This 1943 design laid the literal groundwork for the CJ, or civilian Jeep, series. Many of the innovations we see in the 1943 models, the rugged 4WD system, the full-down windshield, and the simple body tub, became the DNA for the modern Jeep Wrangler. For owners, owning a 1943 model is owning the patient zero of the SUV world. It is the ancestor of every off-road vehicle on the market today. Understanding the 1943 specs helps enthusiasts appreciate how little the core concept of the Jeep has needed to change over the last 80 years to remain a market leader.
If you're looking to buy or restore a 1943 Willys MB or Ford GPW today, there are several things to keep in mind. First, check the frame for the serial number. 1943 models have specific ranges that distinguish them from earlier or later versions. Second, look for the F marks on the GPW to ensure you aren't paying a premium for a mixed Jeep. Prices for a well-restored 1943 model can range from $20,000 to over $40,000 depending on authenticity and condition. Maintenance is relatively affordable, but finding original new-old stock parts is becoming more difficult, making the reproduction market a vital resource. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a first-time buyer, the 1943 Jeep is more than a vehicle. It's a rolling testament to an era when production stopped for the world, but started for a legend. Happy hunting and keep those Go Devils running.